Go, Space Racer, go! It's the Atari ST Show, Episode 6. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Atari ST Show. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Space Racer. Now, Aaron, this week's Atari ST Show is brought to you by our patrons, and in particular, Game Selection Committee members Richard Davey, Dave Velociraptor, and Graham Bebke.
Thanks, fellas. Hey, did you know, I want to give a special shout-out to our buddy Dave Velociraptor. He's going to be one of the new co-hosts over at your old haunt this week in Retro. They brought him in as a full-time player.
Nice.
So well done, sir.
Well done, Dave. Aaron, if you were a space racer,
oh man,
what would your racing craft look like?
Well, you know, think about the cosmic racers that you know. Okay.
I don't know any.
Yeah, you do. Like Silver Surfer.
Oh, okay.
That's a guy.
Sure, I know him.
Right. You've got the pod racers. Mm-hmm. Those are kind of galactic racers. You know, and I always think of like, you know, what I would like to do is get one of the, you ever watch old Battlestar Galactica, the old one? They had these things called Vipers.
I know from the new ones.
Nah, screw those.
Okay.
These are the old ones. It had Lauren Green in there, Dirk Benedict, all your favorites.
It's a great name.
Yeah, sure it is. And the Vipers were like the Ferraris of spaceships. They were long and lean, and they looked awesome, and they had these big jets in the back. And what I would like to do is my space racer would be like a Viper from Battlestar Galactica, but I would put like flames and crap all over it. And I would have it like, instead of having 3 engine pods in the back, I'd put like 8. Just a bundle of them back there. You know, and
so it'd be like a drag racer almost. Just like huge engine, the thing would pop up as it went forward.
You know what those Vipers are famous for? You know, when I was a kid, they had these Battlestar Galactica toys.
Right.
You know, and the Vipers were part of the toys. And they had a bullet. You put in a little red missile, and if you hit the little button on it, it would shoot the missile out. What was happening was, you know what was happening?
That was the choking. It was the origin of the choking hazard.
That was the suckers were shooting that thing down their throat.
Right.
That's like
right down the throat.
That's like hitting the shaft in the Death Star.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? Unless you've just got the thing in your mouth for some reason. What are you thinking, kid, you idiot? And if that was my toy, I would chastise that kid. Get that out of your mouth.
They ruined it for everybody. Because for years after that, my entire childhood, you were not allowed to have toys that had the missiles.
And you know what they did to those toys? Because they used to be cool. They put this gimmick on them where the thing would just shoot out about this part. It would stay in it.
Stupid.
What the heck? What are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I derailed the conversation. What would your hot rod look like?
Well, I don't know what it would look like, but it made me think of an even more pertinent question. You know, you talk about Battlestar Galactica, the original, a lot.
That's right.
Okay.
I thought a lot.
Where would you put the effects, the special effects on Battlestar Galactica up against another contemporary TV show like Earth 1999?
Well, they're way better. Battlestar Galactica had awesome effects.
So it was like Star Wars level?
Yeah, but they had a cunning secret plan, all right? But the problem is that we all figured it out. They shot about 2 minutes of footage, awesome footage, right? And then they just used it over and over and over again. And so it was a lot like when Batman used to get in the Batcar, the Batmobile, and it would the Batcar. You heard of that, right?
Yeah, the Batcar.
And he would shoot out of the cave, and they'd play the theme. Yeah. But it was the same thing every time.
But they played at different speeds. Sometimes be real fast.
Right. That's what that Battlestar Galactica was like that. But I mean, occasionally something really cool would happen. They had to shoot new footage for, like there'd be 2 battle stars would come around or whatever. Then you got something. But for the most part, it was really cool. But it was really good footage. I mean, it would stand up today.
You would say that was probably, because this was a 70s show, right? Battlestar Galactica?
It was.
Yeah, so it was probably one of the best looking sci-fi TV shows at the time.
And also, all the outfits on it were designed by like a world-renowned fashion designer. It was like one of the biggest guys, like you'd heard of it. I don't remember which one it was, but they looked cool. Everyone in it was good looking except for Lauren Green, and he looked noble, you know. And the chicks were all hot. They had their outfits on. They were good to go. So you had a bunch of basically like supermodels dressed in top-shelf model clothing, getting in the Ferrari spaceships they were flying around.
Why was it canceled?
It did well. because the sequel to that show was god awful.
The sequel?
Battlestar Galactica, like 1980, I think it was.
Why didn't they just keep making the original?
Well, here's the problem. If you ever watched Battlestar Galactica, it was a ragtag fugitive fleet on a lonely quest, the shiny planet Noah's Earth.
Mhm.
They had to get to Earth. They were trying to get to Earth. The
Right.
problem is they got to Earth.
Oh, that was their mistake.
Well, and what happened was, so they got here, right? Well, the bad guys, the Cylons, are like, oh, there's Earth, get them! And so they were there too. And then that Battlestar Galactica, the sequel show, was a disaster. Disaster. Horrible. I couldn't even take it. I was a kid. You know, so once they got to the shining planet known as Earth, and I think they got in there like, look at this. We traveled all the way across the universe. We're in Cleveland.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, that'll bring you down.
It
That's a
was.
bummer.
Yeah.
You get on the ship and maybe try to find another shining planet.
I hear Venus is nice this time of year. So, let's talk about Space Racer, Aaron.
All right, yeah.
Okay. Space Racer was released on the Atari ST in 1988. Okay.
Yeah.
I was 7 years old.
You were a young man back in the days.
I was. This was programmed by a guy named Pascal Jerry.
Good name.
PJ is what he's known as.
Pascal? I've never heard that as a first name. Have you?
Yeah, me neither. You always hear about that as a last
Was
name.
he American?
He's French.
Oh.
Everybody was French.
Oh,
in
yeah,
this
because
game.
this is Laura's.
Right,
Yeah, I forgot about
yeah.
that.
Now, Pascal had a hand in Best of the Best Championship Karate. Okay?
Oh, you know what that is?
That's no.
That's Panza Kickboxing.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the same game.
Well, it's funny because I also list Panza Kickboxing in this as
that
well.
was a name change.
Okay.
'Cause remember Panza? They didn't want to pay him.
Ah.
You don't want to you don't want to get Panza on your bad side. He'll send
No.
over some of his
Is
Italian
he still
buddies.
around?
I don't know, but now he was around. I think he was around when we did the show on him on the Amigos.
That's
so-
right, because he called in.
No, listen. You know how much it costs to get Pans on the show? I don't have that kind of money.
He also worked in a game called Magnetic Tank,
Oh,
which sounds
man.
cool. You know, I think all tanks are sort of magnetic.
It sounds like it'd be bad to get your phone near it.
Now, the graphics were done by Bruno Mason.
Oh, I thought it was just Bruno.
Just
I was like,
Bruno.
man, that's awesome.
Okay, he was also responsible for Cobra on the on the Amstrad and the Thompson
Oh
computers.
man, that's the old Sylvester Stallone joint.
That's right.
Yeah.
He also did a puzzle game called Backtron.
Like BACK or BAT?
No, BACTRON, like Baktron.
That's a weird name.
It is weird.
What if that means something?
I don't know. And then he teamed up with Pascal Jerry. They both worked on Magnetic Tank.
So his
together.
name's not Jerry Pascal.
No,
it's
it's
literally
definitely Pascal
Jerry.
Jerry. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen.
What was the one they teamed up for? Say it again?
Magnetic Tank.
Oh, that's the one.
That's
okay.
right. Okay. Now, this game doesn't have a lot of music in it, but it does have the old title music. Okay.
Yeah.
This was done by Michael Winogradoff. Okay.
I like Wino better.
Yeah. He liked to hit the juice. He provided music for dozens of games, including the aforementioned Backtron and Panza Kickboxing.
You know, the music at the beginning of this is sort of digitized or
Mhm.
something. It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It catches you off guard. You're like, whoa, what the
Mhm.
heck? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, Aaron, he appeared in the credits of Baby Joe in Going Home.
Oh, I know that game.
Yeah,
Sure.
this is a game you're familiar
Yeah.
with from ARG Presents, but he only got a special thanks, so it's unclear what his role in Baby
Maybe he
Joe
posed
was.
as Baby Joe.
Maybe so. Now, all three of these guys worked for Lauracell, who
Yes.
published the game. Lauracell, they started out as Lauracells. They put the S on there.
Yes, it's funny. You see it both ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then they realized that was dumb,
Well,
and they took it off.
Why?
Okay, because you don't want to have an S on your name.
What does it mean?
Well, just think about all the big sensibles. They never put an S on their name. You got to take that S off there. It weakens you. It makes you weak.
Okay.
Okay. Lauracell, of course, was one of the most prominent developers from the Big F in the 8 and 16-bit era. They were extremely, extremely prolific. They released, get this, Aaron, 1,250 games.
Yeah, they sure did.
That can't be true. I think I wrote that wrong.
We played a lot of their stuff on ARG. We've come across Lauracell many times.
I think they released 125 games.
They do all the Thompson games. They do all the more obscure stuff. You see them creeping in.
Mm-hmm.
If it's big in France, they're down.
I always associate them with that tennis game that we played. That was like that rotoscope tennis game.
Yeah,
on
it
the
wasn't that
Amiga.
good,
No.
but it had the cat in the background.
Right.
They got a cat as their logo.
That's right. They ran from 83 until 94. So, I mean, they hit really the high points of the 8-bit era into the 16-bit era, and then they kind of struggled. And they were not alone. That's the time. 94 was the year when tons and tons of European developers went under because they couldn't support the new machines. They didn't have the staff.
I would suggest that Lorcel struggled well before that.
You might be true. That might be true. Okay. Now, Aaron, before we get into this, I'm going to ask you the same thing that I ask you on every Atari ST show.
Yeah.
Have you played this one before?
Before this week, I had not played this game. Despite it being on multiple systems, I had not played it.
I have not played this either, and so the game's story, when I looked up the documentation, was new to me, okay? Let me set the stage for you here, Aaron.
Yeah, because I don't know the background.
It's the 25th century. Star Trek time.
It's Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers, okay? Life in the galaxy is too placid. It's too placid, okay? In the spirit of ancient Rome, a new set of games has come about.
Yeah.
Space racing.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever thought about space racing before this exact moment.
Right.
Okay. Every 3 years, the best racers from each of the planets are selected to compete for the title of the somewhat boringly named Space Racer Championship.
The Cirque.
The Cirque.
Yeah.
Okay. The winner is awarded a life of luxury. The loser never sees the finish line or anything else ever again. He dies.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Pretty subtle.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, you may be wondering about your character in the game. The character you play. Well, it's like looking into a mirror.
All right. So he's a handsome, like, lawful good type.
You're a drifter and a scoundrel.
Oh, man. What are you trying to say to me, Boat?
Now, while your reputation is not above par, you're well known, okay? And you're considered to be the best space racer on the planet.
Oh, okay.
How's that for a backstory?
That sounds about right.
Does it,
I like the fact that you're a scumbag.
Yeah.
That's sort of amusing.
Well, you're the typical Han Solo type.
Scoundrel.
With a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what this game is. Aaron, can you describe what Space Racer is?
It's pretty simple, really. You're on, basically, it's a lot like a pod racer or something. You're on like like a Return of the Jedi style, like
land speeder.
Like it's more like the bikes on.
Oh right.
Yeah, with the teddy bears.
Yeah, I can't think of what those things are called.
Well, the speeder bike.
Speeder bike. There we go.
You're like if a pod racer and a speeder bike had a small son, you would be on it, and you basically follow a line on a course through some kind of signs and some light poles and crap, and then you try to get to the end, occasionally blowing up suckers along the way. That's pretty much what I got out of it.
Yeah, that's about right. So
the one thing you don't do, which is amusing to me, at least I never got far enough to do it, it's like you don't actually race in space. Now there may be parts later where you do, but I never saw them. Everywhere I raced was on like right beside the ground.
In retrospect, probably not the most apt name.
Well, I mean, ground racer sounds lamer.
That's true.
Or like slightly elevated racer.
Technically, we are all in space all the time.
Oh, clearly. Did you work for Lorcel?
We could call this Space Podcast.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, listen, this is a pretty straightforward game, Boat, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
You race from point A. First of all, I'll get some off my chest here, but if you'll indulge me.
I will.
At the beginning, this is one of those games that does something I hate. At the beginning of the race, your guy says hello, which I like. He waves.
You want to have a jovial racer.
He didn't seem like a jerk.
No.
He gets on his craft. He skids up to the race line. There's a couple other races there waiting to start. The second you can start, you sit there like an anchor, and the other guys scoot off like they were shot out of cannons.
Yeah.
You know how much I hate that?
At first I thought I must be doing something wrong.
Nope. Anyway, carry on.
So let's talk about what greets you when you start up Space Racer.
Yeah.
Okay. So at the title screen, you see a selection screen where you can pick one of 3 tracks or a championship mode. Okay. Each track takes place on a different world with a different parallax background and color scheme.
Yeah.
Okay. World 1 is the garden planet.
Yeah.
It's green, a lot of greenery.
Makes sense.
On the garden planet. Yeah. World 2 is the industrial planet.
Yeah.
Okay.
World 2 reminds me of if you visited the planet from like Moon Patrol
Mhm.
or even like Road Blasters,
Right.
A dome
It's
joints.
a futuristic-looking city where they have the Jetsons domes over everything.
Oh, I mean, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I never thought of it in Jetsons terms.
Yeah, well, that's the only way I think about it. World 3, of course, is your planet of skulls.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know it's bad when it's skulls.
It appears to take place on a planet that's filled with a bunch of dead supergiants because you have these skulls that are the size of mountains.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what you got. That's why they call it the planet of skulls.
Made the skulls to make it look cooler. I'm assuming they're televising
It's like Mount Rushmore.
I'm just saying,
Somebody's carving these things out.
If you're on a planet and there are skulls that are as big as mountains, why are you there? Unless that's all dead. I'd be like, screw that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But I mean, when you're a space racer, you go where you're told.
Why would you join this race?
Life of luxury?
Yeah, but you could die.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to me.
Well, I think that's why we're not space racers.
Well, yeah, we proved that this week.
Now, as far as I can tell, and maybe you can prove me wrong here, I didn't see any difference between the difficulty, the track layout. I'm sure the track layout was different, but there's not massive differences in the actual racing on these different planets other than just the color scheme and what you see in the background.
Well, this is one of those types of games when it's a racer, okay? But I mean, in like even a game like a pole position, there's a track.
Right.
And you could I could print the track. Here's the track. Now it may be too subtle for you to tell what's going on when you actually play the game, but you can sort of pretend there's a track. But in this, it's more like just I don't think there's a track. I think you just go from point A to point B.
Right.
And there's a lot of turns.
It's more like an outrun than a pole position.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yes, I understand what you mean. It's not. It doesn't feel like I'm not gonna say it feels random, Or maybe
I'll say it. It feels random.
And so when you go to the different tracks, they do look different colors, the whole 9 yards. But the tracks don't feel any different to me. They just feel sort of like the same tracks. I mean, they may be different. I'm just saying they don't feel that different to me.
Right. Now, when you start playing one of the practice tracks, okay, say that you don't want to move into the championship mode quite yet. You want to check these out, okay? You see your racer. He's on the ground. Okay, he hasn't mounted the bike yet. He turns back to you. He breaks the fourth wall and he says, "Hello." Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he's from the Big F. That's how they do it.
He sounded cool though. He didn't seem.
I don't think he sounded cool. I think he sounded wimpy.
Well, I mean it was digitized.
It was digitized. Cool, yeah. It doesn't inspire you with confidence that this guy is going to raise a lot of heck on the track. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he didn't meet up to the backstory.
No. Now, you mount up alongside the other two racers that serve as your competition, and like you said, the gun goes off. Those two guys blast off, and you're left waiting, doing nothing.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
So, this game takes place it's an over-the-shoulder pole position type perspective.
Yeah.
To me, this game recalls something more like Hang On, or Space Harrier or something like that. Like
it's sort of like if Space Harrier and Hang On had a child.
Right.
It's very similar.
Because your character is pushed forward a little bit more on the screen than he is in pole position. It's actually a lot like Road Rash in space.
Well, yeah, sorta. I mean, it's not that good, Bo.
Well, I'm saying from this perspective of your guy, okay?
Yeah.
He's racing along. He's coming up to other guys. You can bounce them around, you know. Now, you can't kick or punch or get out your old chain or anything like that. Yeah, but you can shoot them, okay? Now, instead of following a road, which would be kind of dumb because you're in the air, the track is represented by a dotted line.
Which is lame.
It's also lame, yeah.
I mean, that's the best thing. I mean, you can see what's going on, but I mean, you feel sort of like a geek. What do you cut something better than that? Arrows or something?
What would you do?
Arrows. Occasional arrows. I wouldn't have made the game like this, I'll be honest with you. Because let's just get in it, okay? If I may. I don't
get into it, man. No, do it.
I mean, the control in this is not the best. I don't hate this game, okay? You got to put yourself in the position of 88 or wherever it was released, okay? And you've got to accept what was going on then. This is your typical attempt at a 3D racer at home. It's got all the same shaded line shtick that they used. It's got the the backgrounds that move around to sort of simulate that you're going somewhere. I mean, they used all the tricks. They're used okay. It's got some interesting flair. When you barely touch something, your guy sort of spins out of control for a minute but can recover. I like that. It's got billboards, but it's thin. The racing in it's thin. The control in it is one thing Space Harrier would have, for example, is good, solid controls. This game is floaty. The controls,
well, it's floaty because you're floating.
No, I don't mean in a good way.
Oh.
I mean, it's kind of, the controls aren't tight. Like when you hit a curve, first of all, why? I don't understand even the course doesn't make any sense. You're going through these like poles.
Well,
and
it's like
billboards.
a slalom. It's like a ski slalom.
Well, it's I didn't like it. Just because the controls were not good. Now that much said, that it's not the worst game. It's not a full burial here. There's something to like. The backgrounds are detailed and cool looking. The sense of speed is The bikes look cool. Your guy looks pretty good. You can shoot, but even the shooting, like why would they put the accelerator and the shooting on the same button? That's weird.
Well, you only have one button.
Right, but I mean, just have yourself like push forward, just like every other game does. I didn't like the shooting in this is a chore because you can't just shoot the button. You sort of gotta.
You just double tap it.
Yeah, but that's not that easy. Like it wasn't something that came naturally.
One of the big things about this game is that you don't have unlimited bullets. You can only fire like 2 bullets a minute.
The funny thing about the bullets, though, for me, I would just occasionally shoot. Because if there's anyone anywhere near you, it'll go through them and whoever else is on the screen. One bullet can kill 2 or 3 guys.
It's like the Indiana Jones gun when he's on the tank,
In some ways, this reminded me of Stun Runner, too.
Mm-hmm.
And that because it had that sort of a same kind of a feel to it. I mean, this is definitely feels like an Atari game, even though it's not. It feels like something that should be on an Atari.
In this game, your opponents are not the other racers. In this game, the opponents are the poles that are on each side of the track.
Well, the other racers are your opponents.
Well, I mean, you don't come into contact with the other racers nearly as much as I came into contact with the poles.
That's true.
Now, if you hit them when you're moving slowly,
yeah.
your craft kind of barrels away. You don't die immediately. Then your guy shakes his fist.
That's pretty cool.
Like an angry old man. But of course, if you're going too fast and you hit one of these poles, you just explode in a fiery ball. Okay. You've also on the courses, you've got to contend with mines that are on there, and there's also power-ups that appear in the form of blue balls, which give you more energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are sort of the elements of what's on the track.
And occasionally, like a missile will shoot at you. I saw that too.
Yeah. So at the top of the screen, you've got your HUD, and your HUD gives you indicators for your energy level, the current planet you're on, whether you're on planet 1, planet 2, planet 3. You got your score on there. Then there's a thing called your alignment, which is
what is that?
It looks like 2 D-pads, like 2 analog sticks on a PS2 controller or something like that. And it basically just tells you, like, are you facing straight up or are you facing at an angle?
Yeah, did you ever use that for anything?
It's profoundly useless because, 1, you don't need to know that, and 2, you can tell what angle you're on by looking at your guy on the screen.
I've got problems with this HUD, too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the HUD.
Yeah.
So, the dots underneath your score, what the hell is that? They go up and down. I never fully understood what those were.
That's your energy meter.
I thought the thing to the side of the planet number was your energy meter.
No, that's your score.
No, to the left of the number of the planet number. What is that meter for?
That meter is never fully explained.
Well, it's a mystery meter?
Now, on the right side, the far right side where you've got 4 squares, those do nothing, but in the DOS version, they actually show you how far along on the track you are.
That's what I
show
want.
Up in different lights.
I was dying for that.
Yeah, you get none of that in this game. You get none of that. So, now, unlike a normal motorcycle game, you not only have to control your bike in terms of keeping things between the poles, but you also have to manage your altitude. So the way this works is there's kind of a speed sweet spot somewhere in the middle where you'll go fastest. So if you fly too high, you'll slow down. If you fly too low to the ground, you'll slow down. You got to find, that's right. You got to find the middle, and then that's when you can start to kind of zoom off. Now, you might ask yourself, how can I tell if I'm going faster or slower? Well, you can't. I mean, you can tell by how fast things are passing you, like the poles, but there's no speed. There's no speedometer.
I don't even think it matters. I've never understood how much of the speed mattered in this either.
Well, you get points on how far you travel on the track.
Yeah.
so the more, the farther you go, the faster you go, the farther you can go. Okay. You get 85 points for each enemy you destroy, which is ridiculous because this game you're immediately scoring in the tens of thousands of points.
That's all you get's 85?
And then you get 65 points for each remaining power unit when you complete the race. Okay?
Yeah.
Now,
That's peanuts too.
when you start the championship mode, you get a pretty cool graphic of it looks like an interstellar waiting room.
Yeah.
Where people are looking out. It looks like an airport or
Yeah.
something. But then from then on, there's nothing but the tracks. There's no cutscenes in between races, nothing like that. You finish one race, you start the next race. When you complete all 3 of the tracks, you reach the end of the game, and this is what happens. The game freezes. The following message appears on the screen. You have done well, human, but that was just a little training. The real thing is coming, and this time, you are playing for your life.
Yeah.
And at that point, the game just resets.
Huh. What were they talking about there, Boat?
We call that the old phoning in the ending.
Oh, but what do they mean there?
I don't know. I don't know what they mean. Because I thought you were playing for your life this time.
Can I ask you a question? Because I watched this game go through, as far past that. How far could you get in this?
I was able to beat the first track.
Yeah.
The the big issue with this game is that, they don't give you a reason to want to get better. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't know how far along you are on this track. You don't know what position you're in. Okay, so you really have no idea how good or how bad you're doing.
Does that matter, the position?
It matters a lot to me as a game player.
Right, but I know that. But I mean, in terms of gameplay, it doesn't matter at all.
No, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all.
I'm not even sure you're racing. I think the other guys are just to be jerks.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because the idea is that you're just trying to get to the end of the course without dying.
Yeah.
And you get more points the more guys you destroy.
Yeah.
So,
but not many more.
Not many more. Not many more. So, for me, the biggest downfall of this game is the fact that you only get 3 tracks. They're all more or less the same, and you have no way of really knowing if you're improving from race to race because your score is just so arbitrary. And get this, the original French release of this game, it didn't include the championship mode.
Oh!
It's just the 3 courses, and that's it.
I've got a few gripes. A few more. I'm not done yet. I noticed early on, and I checked the different levels, like some of the obstacles are the same color as the land.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's real easy to just be like, as you're coming up on them, just to hit them and explode. That's irritating. It's not a fun game, is it, Bo?
Let's
face facts.
It's not very fun.
And this is sort of Loracell. This is sort of their bag.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of make these games that are their games, but are not really great games.
Yeah.
I've found them to be a middling to lower level developer,
mm-hmm.
Bo. And this, I will say, this game actually is one of the better ones I've played from them. There's some things to look at. I mean, the backgrounds of this are quite nice.
Yeah.
Particularly the level we're looking at now, if you're watching at home, the one with the Moon City is real pretty. I really like this one. And they did a decent job with the scrolling, but they just dropped the ball on the actual. I'd rather have this been like a game where you're driving. I think that I would. The flying element is awful. It's something we should mention that we saw. I was telling Bo before we started. I saw this on a lot of reviews. I went through and watched some reviews of this on other systems. And a lot of people complained about the controls. And one of the things they complained about the most was the elevation moving up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the docks, there's actually a function key. I think it's F4. If you hit it, it inverts the controls. Sort of like Mad Max. I mean, an airplane game where some people like
Blue
to pull
Max.
back. What did I say? Mad Max. Yeah, same thing. So if you're one of these people that have tried this game, you might want to look and see if you can't actually invert those, because I think a lot of people missed that. And that's the first thing I did was invert it, because I liked it the other way. But it didn't matter. It's not like I suddenly became great at the game.
Well, I really feel like Loracell, their developers had a lot of technical chops. Yeah. But they just didn't have somebody that was just a really good designer on here's how we make a fun experience for the game player.
Yeah.
And they're not alone in that. There's tons and tons of European game developers and Japanese game developers and American game developers that they knew how to program. They could make something that looked good, that played pretty okay, but they didn't take that final step. And how can we package this together to make an entertaining experience for somebody who's going to buy our game.
And I will say, you're thinking to yourself, well, heck, maybe this is an ST problem. I did a here. If you're watching at home, we've got a comparison with the Amiga
it
version.
had to happen sooner or later. We somehow this one slipped by the ST Show Game Committee. We technically are not supposed to be playing games that have an Amiga version, so sorry about that.
Well, the flip side of it is this game is identical to the Amiga version. The Amiga version may be a little faster and a little smoother, but I know I looked on Lemon to see how this thing fared, and it got destroyed. Like a 3 on there. It was like crushed. So I don't, and everything I read sounded exactly like the ST. So this looks like a straight up port from one of these to the other one. Everything's identical. I mean, you really, with the exception of the speed of the game, you really couldn't tell the difference unless you were actually playing it yourself on these particular computers. So it's not like you're gonna get a better version of somewhere else. I don't think there is a version that's really great.
This thing was released on tons of different computers.
Yeah.
This thing got released on the Amstrad, the C64, the Thomson MO, and the Thomson TO.
Yeah, I looked at the Thomson version. Not so good.
This one got a Spectrum version and a DOS version.
Yeah, and I'd wager the DOS version is not so good either.
So the one thing about the DOS version though was the only, because I went through and I looked at all the ports, it was the only one that actually showed you how far along the track you were, which was cool.
That went a long way.
Now, Aaron, when it comes to reviews, here's a little bit of trivia for you. The German magazine ASM reviewed this game, and it had pictures in it, and the pictures actually had the crack information in them. The screenshot of the title picture said "cracked by 42 crew."
Yeah.
And so this didn't have any, obviously the magazine didn't get into trouble, but the following issue had quite a few angry mail from readers asking why a magazine that constantly reminds people to buy games obviously reviewed pirate games.
Oh.
Guess what? I guarantee you this happened all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
In fact, of course, it's possible that maybe they just didn't get they didn't send them a version for review, and they were like, "Screw you! We'll just go get our own version."
That's right. I did find 2 reviews for this game. The one from November 1988 gave this a 75%, and Generation 4 gave it an 80%. So pretty positive reviews from those.
Would you go that high, 80?
No.
Where would you place this? I
would give this a 70.
How does this fare compared to, say, Crystal Castles, another middle of the road game?
Quite similarly.
It's funny how we played a lot of games on the ST that were like middle of the road or lower part of the road, and then Sundog honed into view like a gleaming a gleaming star. It's like it was so far beyond these other games, which were just, I mean, this is another game, like, it's not crap, it's not total crap, but it's not what I'd want to play. If I bought it back in the day, I don't know, Big Skulls are kind of cool, but
Now, we did get one Discord review. Pajako6502 writes, "A fairly unique racing game that you can pass under or over your opponents sometimes. Graphically, it's colorful with nicely drawn backgrounds, and it runs quite well, although track-wise, it's a little Spartan, which probably helps the frame rate. Space Racer controls reasonably well, although it's easy to fly off the track on sharp corners, so you really need to memorize the courses. The sound effects..."
God! Can you imagine that?
Nope.
Does Pajako do that?
That's why he's the man.
Holy cow!
The sound effects do, however, sound out of place with what sounds like a real motorcycle or car sounds used at the start, and not a futuristic space bike.
It does sound like an old Yamaha.
Unless I missed something, the game is pretty short with what appears to be just 3 tracks and no progression or anything else once you win a race. Worth a quick play to see something slightly different, but once you've played this through once, there really isn't much to come back for. 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
P.S. The loading screen is awesome.
Yeah. The loading screen is great. I will say that. But I mean, and this also gets the award for stupidest gauges in the game. I mean, there's some dumb. I think someone said, "Hey, look at this, Bill or Pierre. I can make it show your controller up there." It's like, that's a good one. Put that in.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're going to take up most of the screen for something, you might as well do something different.
Yeah, at least they didn't put the name of the game up there.
Yeah, true. Good point.
All right, Aaron. I couldn't find any ST versions of this game for sale on eBay.
Oh,
but
shocking.
there is a sealed copy of the Amiga version available for the cool price of $300.
Oh, don't do it.
You can pick one up boxed for around $50.
There's no Lorcel game I've ever played that's worth 300 francs. You know what I mean?
No.
No.
All right, Aaron, it's time to bid a fond farewell to Space Racer. Maybe it's a little bit more fond than normal.
We're getting on our speeder bike and flying off.
That's
right.
right.
Now.
Listeners, if you're listening right now, we want to hear your feedback. Please leave us a comment on YouTube. If you could leave us a review on your podcast service of choice, we would really appreciate it. We release this show in both audio podcast and video format on YouTube at bit.ly/Atari ST Show. And we record live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming. If you want to support the Atari ST Show, just visit patreon.com/Atari ST Show. We do have a goal up there, which we are edging ever closer to, Aaron. If we can get to $200 a month in Patreon support, the Atari ST Show will morph from a monthly show into a weekly show. Man, and that would be super awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting show right there.
And that leads us to our ST supporter roll call. We want to thank all of these fine folks for supporting the Atari ST Show, in addition to the Game Selection Committee members we mentioned at the beginning. Brett Owens, Laurent Giroux, Twilight Zoner, Olivier Massoud, Tim Drew, Retro Jerry, Bernard Quinn, and Milo Loves Chocolate.
I agree, Milo.
Yeah. If you like our format and you want to hear more, feel free to check out our other shows, Amigos, Everything Amiga, Our Sinclair, An American Take on the ZX Spectrum, The Coco Show, Gaming on the Tandy Color Computer, and ARG Presents, where Aaron and the Brent spin the wheel and make the deal. All of these shows can be found on the Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel or at anchor.fm/Amigos Podcast. Aaron, what's coming up next on Atari ST Show?
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? Some Gauntlet action?
Gauntlet.
So they had a first-party release of Gauntlet on the ST?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's an Atari game, man. You got to.
I'm just saying, Gauntlet had been around the block a while.
It had.
Oh, man. Not Gauntlet 2.
No.
Gauntlet.
That's right.
I can't wait to see this. This should be good.
Well, folks, it's time to get on it. Go ahead and fire up Gauntlet. And if you are a member of our Discord community, write us a review, put it on the channel, and we will read it on the next episode.
And if you play Gauntlet and you're coming to Boat Fest, we'll be taking reviews right there on the spot, Boat. That'll be awesome.
That's right. You know, we should probably mention Boat Fest since it's coming up quick. Boat Fest is our first annual vintage computing festival taking place right here in lovely Hurricane, West Virginia on June 24th and 25th at the Holiday Inn Express. You can get tickets and view a full schedule of events of all of the 30-plus computers, retro consoles, virtual pinball machines, etc. You can find out all the information you need at boatfest.info. We hope to see you there. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and make sure you play
your Atari today.